Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
You are about to listen to the Totally Super Awesome 80s Reboot Overdrive podcast.
This podcast is our fan tribute to the Incredible Hulk TV show. Be advised that has been exposed to radiation and we caution to listen at your own risk. You have now entered GammaCast.
And welcome to the GammaCast. I'm your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me, as always, is my totally awesome friend.
Hey, it's Miss Girl. What?
Oh, love having you back, as always, 80s Music Girl.
Love being here, Charlie.
Tonight's episode, King of the Beach. Season 4, Episode 9, first aired February 6th, 1981. David Beller is working at a restaurant with weightlifter Carl Molino, who is talked into entering a bodybuilding contest by small-time hustler Mandy. Directed by Barry Crane, writers are Kenneth Johnson, the developer of the series, and Karen Harris. Yes. Once again, you have another woman writing the episodes. I have noticed that you do see that a lot in this series where, Kenneth Johnson, just cared if you could write. Didn't care if you were a lady writer or a man writer. You were a writer. That's all he cared about. At least that's what I like to imagine.
Absolutely.
I like to imagine this very progressive world of 1980s Hollywood. Okay. Weird little fun fact about this episode. Leslie Ackerman, who plays Mandy, and Charlie Brill, who plays Sully Diamond, they come back years later in the Deep Space Nine episode, Troubles and Tribulations. Or
really?
Trials and Tribulations. Yeah, she plays the waitress. And Charles Brill is reprising his role as, I gotta get his name here. 1 second. Scrolling down. He's reprising his role as, where did that go? Deep Space Nine. As Arn Darvin, who is the half Klingon, mostly human Klingon spy at the station that got infected with tribbles, and they go back in time so that he can get his revenge on James T. Kirk. It is a really fun episode, because they do a whole time travel riff. And also Charlie Brill, he actually was a regular actor on Laugh-In.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he actually has been around, and he does a lot of voiceover stuff. He's, and he was also Captain Harry Lipschitz on Silk Stockings, if you ever remember that little softcore porn murder mystery from a while back. But
yeah, I probably missed out on that one.
Oh, it was actually a fun show. I watched a lot. It was like a USA Up All Night, like not quite Skinamax kind of drama, but that made sure that it was always the most scandalous of shows. Anyway, oh, and actually, this is one other person I have to call out in this episode. Angela Lee Sloan as Little Girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She looks awfully familiar.
Oh, well, I don't know about look, but she had she's been around. She was on the series Valerie in the early 90s as Brenda Walker for about 15 episodes. She was Julia on Who's the Boss for about 7 episodes. This was her big claim to fame. She was the voice of Lucy Van Pelt in The 1983 TV cartoon revival of the Charlie Brown and Snoopy Show. She was also Lucy Van Pelt in Is This Goodbye, Charlie Brown? And yeah, she actually has a lot of Charlie Brown character. Oh, and then she was also Lucy Van Pelt in It's an Adventure, Charlie Brown. So
Wow.
yeah, she had a nice career there as Lucy Van Pelt. Okay, back to the actual
Very
episode.
appropriately cast, by the way.
I'm sorry?
No, I was just going to say, that very appropriately cast, because
Yeah.
girlfriend had attitude.
Yeah, she was actually, I really liked her in this, and you know, man, there was such a quality to her where, you know, I know a lot of put together ladies who, you know, who somehow are really destitute but still put themselves together every morning because that's how they make their livings. And I was real impressed with every aspect of this actress's portrayal of this character, from the costume design, you know, for someone who's living under a pier. It was actually pretty impressive. You know. But well, as we open up, so we open up with trying to remember. Yeah, so we open up with her almost getting run over and twisting her ankle, and then we see that you know, and she's getting everyone to say, "Oh, I saw the whole thing." She wants David to be a witness too, but you know, the guy says, "We'll make it right," you know. But you know, she's hustling this other hustler, which you know, is probably not the straightest way to be, but you know, because I'm sure that's not going to come back and bite her in the butt.
No. Did you catch what he said when she asked him what his name was? He actually said David Banner.
Oh, he did?
He did.
Ah, a little slip up.
And then later on, he says, you know, he's David Beller. And I thought, no, that's not what you said first.
Yeah, well, you know, he probably makes that mistake more often than you think.
I would think so. He knows who he is.
He knows who he is. But so we do see that she is a scammer, because after she says, you know, she hurt her ankle, you know, we later see her skipping around carrying her roller skates. But she got her money out of the deal, and David sees her and feels very betrayed that she would lie. You know, shocked is he that people are lying to get by in life.
He was this close to giving her that "I'm not angry with you, I'm just disappointed" speech.
Yes. But, you know, not for nothing, this is a man who lies every day of his life. So,
well, yeah.
You know, who is he to judge? That's what I say.
Yeah. He's lying for good reason.
Yes. Well, she may have a good reason, too. You don't know. You don't know her story. That's what I always say. And we get introduced to Carl Molino, played by the incomparable Lou Ferrigno.
Wow, this was a great episode.
Yeah, it was. I actually really I liked Lou acting. I liked him talking. I really wish they would let Lou voice the Hulk more. You know.
Yes.
Because now I know Lou's voice is probably a little higher pitched than they want for the Hulk.
Yes.
And because he can't hear his own voice, it's hard for him to make his voice lower. You know. But you know, it was very cool the way he did it. And this was actually one of the things I thought was very cool that a lot of people wouldn't even realize what was going on in it, but I got what they were doing, is when he's on the phone with his parents.
Right.
And he has the receiver against his temple.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if he puts it over his hearing aid, he's going to get feedback.
Right.
So he has to put it on his temple, and he has to feel the vibrations, and hopefully that triggers into his hearing aid. But I thought that was a very neat touch there, which obviously Lou Ferrigno, as an actual deaf person, would know that, yes, you can't put your a telephone receiver up to your hearing aid, because it is going to blast you.
Right.
So Mandy is trying to get Carl to join the King of the Beach competition. And, it is a very interesting question is if she is scamming him, if she
Mm-hmm.
is being honest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of left kind of open for a while there, if she's
Yeah.
a scammer or if she is honest. I think that it kind of takes some time till we get to her reveal later on to see that
Yeah.
actually she is a really decent person, even though she actually does again some pretty sketchy things.
Yeah.
Because after
Yeah,
she
she's no
loses,
angel.
after she loses the money, and because of course so she's got the money. Carl, is in trouble because David is telling him maybe you shouldn't join into the contest right away. Maybe you need to think about this a bit more because all he had was $1,000 and he gave it all to Mandy. Because she's telling him, oh, we need to do promotion and we need to do this. And honestly, I don't know what promotion's supposed to do for the bodybuilding competition. Costuming,
Yeah.
I guess, but although honestly,
Yeah.
his costume was a pair of Speedos, so.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember him wearing that flashy cape either.
Yeah.
To me, flashy cape signifies wrestler. I don't know.
Well, I think maybe there
Easily.
probably was a scene where he walks in with it. Maybe there was a cape competition. No.
Possible.
Sort of like how you have like the swimsuit and the evening gown. I think in bodybuilding you have the swimsuit and the cape. So you have
That's
to show you
terrible.
can twirl properly in the cape. Get that big billow going.
Jeez.
All very important because it's not just about muscles; it's about poise.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was that supposed to be when they were all working out there at the beginning? Was that supposed to be Venice Beach?
I think, yeah. I mean, it's, yeah. I think
Unless they didn't actually say it anywhere. But, you had
yeah.
the...
Well, it's some
local
muscle, but
guys.
that's the thing. I don't know if Venice Beach is the only beach at that time that had a lot of guys working out on it.
Well, back in the 80s, Venice Beach was quite the place.
Well, yes, I understand that. I mean, that I know, and I think it still has guys there lifting weights.
I know, I'm sure that it does. It's been like that for a while, but it just, to me, there's these women and they're like, ooh, ah,
Wow.
and all these guys, and I'm just like, sweat and testosterone, just two combinations you can't beat.
Yeah, I
Think
would
it-
imagine that a lot of ladies like that,
I'm sure they do.
Yes. Not being a lady myself, I can't say what ladies like, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and
Yeah.
say large, muscular men lifting things.
Yes.
That could get someone's motor running.
Yeah.
And so David goes to get Carl's money back.
Right.
Because, David's like, you gave this woman, and of course, David knows she's a scammer. He knows she really isn't to be trusted, and he's worried she's going to abscond with his money, or that she is going to do something stupid with it, So he does track her down, realizes that she's living under the pier, and she's like, yeah, I'm not gonna run off with his money. I'm not gonna do that. I'm actually a decent human being. I just want something better for myself, and I think Carl deserves something better too.
Yes.
And then of course the two thugs from earlier show up, and they steal the money.
Mm-hmm.
And man, Mandy does get beat up a lot in this episode.
Yeah, she does.
Although, again, man, it's one of these moments where you're like, well, she is a relatively attractive homeless woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably every day of her life is a lot of getting assaulted, and that is not a happy thought. But now we know why she carries the Swiss Army knife.
This is true.
Yes, because she does pull the knife on the guys, and she's trying to defend herself, but they do run her off, and then they decide to focus on David, thinking that he might have some extra money.
Mm-hmm.
But he only has $5 in his wallet, so they start essentially waterboarding him. They keep on
Yeah.
dunking his head underwater, telling him,
Mm-hmm.
"Where's the money? Where's more money? Give us more money." And he's like, "That's all I got. That's all I got." And then, of course, this leads to him finally getting outraged
Mm-hmm.
as soon as they turn away, because he
Yeah.
is so Hulk shy.
Mm-hmm.
And then out he comes, rising from the ocean, and quickly dispatches our thugs.
Seriously, do you think? I thought that fight scene took a little longer than it needed to.
Mm. Well, I think in total, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I never understand why David is so hard to Hulk out sometimes. Like sometimes he just hulks out at the drop of a hat, and other
Yeah.
times it's almost like it just it's like he's just
It's
desensitized
forced.
to it. It's like,
It's
I'm
a
not that
force.
outraged yet.
Yeah. I could take a few more pummelings here.
Yeah, am I really angry in you, or am I just disappointed?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he does dispatch our thugs pretty well.
Yeah. He does a good job.
And then we get to the aftermath when Carl realizes he's lost all his money, and he has no choice but to move back home with Mom and Dad, who he feels always held him back.
Yeah.
Although honestly, the guy's out here in LA for like a couple months and gives all his money to the first pretty redhead who smiles at him. So
Yeah.
maybe they had a point. Maybe
They
old
had
Mom and
good
Dad had a
cause
point.
to be concerned. Mom and dads know these things.
And David is very much sticking his nose into this business.
Mm-hmm.
He's certainly gotten over his bemused detachment that he usually has, and here he really wants to work with Lou, or work with Carl,
Mm-hmm.
And then Mandy should show up
Mm-hmm.
as, because, well, first off, Dave's like, look, I have to be moving on, but my rent's paid for the month, so you have a place to stay. And, Carl's very thankful for David's friendship,
Yes.
Although one can argue he's just sort of, replacing his parents who were doing everything for him with this new guy, but at least maybe he feels he's earned it because, he has been central to David's life, He has earned this friendship.
Yes.
But Mandy comes up, she says she pawned something she had of value,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was going to be like, great grandma's pearl handle combs, but
I was gonna say, my goodness.
yes, but it was something a little more precious, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But Mandy and David agree to help Carl train because I guess technically David, he's a physician. He probably knows all about physiognomy and how to build muscle.
I'm sure he does.
But they don't know that. But he actually is probably not the worst thing in the world. And we get to see a lot more. Get a whole training montage of Lou Ferrigno lifting heavy iron dumbbells. So
yeah, he's good at that.
He is very good at that. And then we see that the King, played ably by Ken Waller.
Yeah.
Who's an actual professional bodybuilder. He was actually in several of Arnold Schwarzenegger's bodybuilder films.
Yeah, he was in the Bump and Iron movies, and I had to go back and look up his repertoire, I guess, for lack of a better term, on IMDb, and he only had the 3 entries.
Yeah, well, because he mostly makes his money being, highly muscular Donnie Most.
Yeah, and there was one scene in it where Mandy was saying that the King, everybody was saying he was getting soft.
Yeah.
And he actually, at some point when he was walking he kind of looked soft too. I thought, wow,
Yeah.
I don't know. That should be a little bit more muscle tone around those biceps, bud. Don't you think?
Well, you know what? He was getting older.
He was
That was kind of
by
the
the
point.
minute, actually.
But that's sort of the thing, and he's not the young guy that Lou Ferrigno or Carl Molino is.
Yeah.
But we find out that our 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 agent Sally Diamond,
hmm
Charlie Brill, has invested a lot of
Yeah.
money in Ken Waller, the King,
hmm
and he needs him to win one more time to get that return on his investment so that he can move on to the big time.
Yeah.
And so they kind of want Lou to take a dive.
Yeah.
Not
And
100%
that's,
certain how you take a dive in a muscle man contest, but
I don't know. And that's unfortunately when you find out that Mandy didn't hawk her grandmother's pearl-handled combs or whatever you said.
Yes.
That she basically did it again.
Yeah. Well,
Except this time she actually thought she was helping,
yeah.
which I
Although,
thought was a little skewed, but
yeah. First off, I don't know how she thought she was helping. If it's like, oh, you want to watch out for this Sally Diamond guy. He's a real shady character. And then it's like, well, I'll sell his contract to Sally Diamond.
yeah.
It's like it was a
Surely nothing bad will happen.
Yes, it was a very odd thing, but basically Sally is, he's trying to extort Lou or Carl and David, and Carl ain't having it,
No, he says, the heck with it. He's like a little bit confused, and then David breaks it down into terms where he can understand.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, fine, let's do this.
Yeah, exactly. And they do go on to go to the competition, which
Yes.
again we get a lot more of some great posing. We do get to see, pardon me, Ken Waller's big show.
Mm-hmm.
And then we hear, Sally's big plan is we will just keep Lou Ferrigno or keep Carl Molino from taking the stand for his solo competition, because then he will just lose. Because if he's not there, he will never be able to make back his points, I guess.
Right.
But when someone comes to tell Carl that he has a phone call, David goes to take the phone call.
Yeah, he had a little bit more on the ball.
Yes.
He's like, this doesn't sound right. I better go take this call.
Yep, but of course, because he is a person in the way of a legitimate business transaction and a contract dispute, they of course decide to try and kill David Banner.
Yeah.
Because
They're
as
using
we
him
always
as
say,
bait.
have you tried killing them yet?
Yeah.
It is, and so they do work out this elaborate, torturous death thing.
Like, wow, you guys just couldn't have dropped a dumbbell on his neck or something. You had to jerry rigged the whole system in his body. Wow, that took some thought.
Yeah.
That took some serious thought.
And Mandy, of course, comes back because she's got to figure out what happened to David, and then again, Mandy gets pretty horribly beat up.
Well, yeah, because she's fighting back, and the guy's like, I've never had to do this to a woman before, but here it goes. Yeah. Boom.
Knocked her right out.
Yeah.
And this, of course, is finally enough to get David outraged.
Mm-hmm.
And we get the green eyes, we get the green skin, we get the musculature explosion, and then we get what I think is actually one of my favorite things that they do on this show from time to time is that they'll have the Hulk throw something and just have it keep on going. Like it goes to the wall as if they were made of tissue paper, because obviously they are made of tissue paper, but we're not supposed to really know that, but
no.
But I do love whenever the Hulk throws something and it just keeps on going. I think that just is always a good scene.
Yeah, that is a good scene.
Yes, and then we see, the Hulk picks up Mandy and walks back to the stage to give Mandy to Carl.
Yeah.
And that, of course, Carl is very much freaking out this whole time because there is a giant green monster who looks
Yeah.
weirdly like him. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
like I'm looking in a
Maybe.
mirror.
Yeah.
But the Hulk gives the girl back to Carl and then takes off.
Yeah.
Well, before that, they actually ask the Hulk to pose, and the Hulk does the whole.
Yeah, and everybody's like, "This guy's awesome." No.
You watch, the Hulk was the actual point winner in King of the Beach. It was like, oh yeah, that green guy.
Yeah, there
He
you
wasn't
go.
an actual... Well, then who was the guy who looked most like him? They said, well, Lou Ferrigno is pretty much like him. So there
Yeah.
we go. That all makes sense now. But they get it when again we get this nice little let's wrap up everyone's story just before the credits roll, and we see that Carl has the money for his restaurant now, and Mandy is going straight, and it's time for David to move on.
Yeah.
Cue Lonely Man theme. I mean, I really liked this episode. I really liked the previous episode too. The previous episode we recorded, the Fast Lane. These were I really liked the. I mean, this one actually, I think the Hulk had more to do, but
Yes.
you always do kind of feel like the Hulk in these last two episodes kind of seemed like you didn't even need to have a Hulk in them. It was enough of an interesting story.
Right.
Even without the Hulk. But the Hulk was nice.
This is
so
very true.
I like seeing the Hulk because he's cool. Okay. Anything else you'd like to talk about tonight's episode, 80s Music Girl?
Yeah, there was a couple of points that I noticed when David comes in to the cafe and he signs in and he's trying to get Carl's attention, and he finally realizes he can't, so he goes around and I'm shouting at the screen. It's because he's deaf, you idiot.
Yes.
But it was because he turned his hearing aid off because the boss was yelling at him, which I thought was pretty cool. And then he, he's like, I don't have to listen to you. Click. And then Carl is explaining to David, the trials and tribulations of being who he is, and David's like, well, it's only because, you had to teach yourself to hear. I can't remember how he explained it, but I'm thinking it was probably the same scenario as Lou Ferrigno, actually.
Yeah.
Is how he learned how to talk without hearing himself.
Yeah, this was definitely Lou Ferrigno's episode,
It was, and it was so awesome to see him, shine like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the ironic conversation that the two of them had later on in this episode where Carl is like, well, okay, that's all well and good, but still, you don't know what it's like to be a freak.
Yeah.
And I like that look that Bill Bixby gives him, like, really? Don't I?
Yeah, well, he's... But nobody else knows that's his deep
I know,
secret.
it's the great part. And of course, once again, Jack McGee is MIA.
Yeah.
But that's all right.
Yeah, well, he had just directed the episode prior to this, and which was Good by Eddie Kane, and I believe no, he's not in Good by Eddie Kane much, is he? No, because it's all from the point of view of the detective. Yeah, that's right.
Right.
So it was so he got his directing credit in, so he's probably feeling okay, skipping a couple episodes. Okay. But that was once again a good episode of the Hulk. I do love when we have these actors who do come back, who have these histories and these complex stories of all of their careers afterwards. So that's always a good thing in my mind. And 80s Music Girl, if folks would like to reach out to you and talk to you about the 80s, about music, or about the Incredible Hulk, how can they do so?
Well, I'll be on Venice Beach pumping. No, I was kidding.
No judgment.
No, or just be on Venice Beach for no reason.
Oh, there you go.
I'm 80s Music Girl on Twitter, and 80s Music Girl on Facebook, and 80s Music Girl on Instagram.
Awesome. And of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And of course, always, if you can, follow me on the Twitters. Live tweet The Incredible Hulk, 7 o'clock on Saturdays, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., 10 o'clock on Tuesdays, and whatever the heck my little heart desires, whenever the heck my little heart desires it. Thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen. Please Hulk out with us again next week. Good night.
We hope you've enjoyed this show. This podcast is part of the 80s Reboot Overdrive channel on Southgate Media Group. You can follow us on Facebook on the 80s Reboot group page. We're also on Twitter and Tumblr at 80s Reboot. We invite you to check out all the wonderful podcasts and blogs available at southgatemediagroup.com. And thank you for reliving the 80s.